Are you looking for an edge, flexible income, and immediate professional respect? Discover the hidden opportunity of becoming a public official with the book, Becoming a Notary by Derrick Spruill. This beginner's guide provides the universal roadmap to launch your new career. You will learn the core mission of deterring fraud, the essential tools of the trade, and exactly how to protect yourself while building a respected business. Get your copy of Becoming a Notary on Amazon, and step into a rewarding profession.
Welcome to Notary Knowledge. Eddie and Marylyn here, and we are so glad you were joining us today.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a fantastic topic lined up for you.
We really do. But before we jump into the main topic, we want to remind you to check out our previous episodes if you haven't already. We've covered some really crucial ground lately.
Oh, for sure. Lots of foundational stuff there.
And hey, if you really want to elevate your game, you need to pick up the Notary Knowledge books by Derrick Spruill. Seriously, head over to the Notary Knowledge website and grab those.
They are, quite literally, the blueprint for success in this industry.
Right. And while you're there, make sure to check out our video podcast, No Notary, with Eddie Montes Travis. And don't miss Marylyn's 90 Seconds of Notary. Tons of great resources.
Really, there's no excuse not to be leveling up right now.
Exactly. Which actually brings us to today's topic. We are talking about something we like to call the Fortress Desk.
Oh, I love that name, the Fortress Desk.
Right. It's all about building the ultimate no-travel ARN hub. Because, well, if you think back to just, I don't know, a few years ago, getting a document notarized was this very specific physical ritual.
Oh, completely. It was an errand.
Yeah, you grabbed your car keys, you drove down to the local bank branch or maybe a shipping store, and you just stood in line.
Hoping the notary wasn't on lunch break.
Exactly. And then you'd hand over your physical driver's license, sign a piece of paper with an actual pen, and wait for that, that heavy, satisfying thud of the ink stamp.
Which is so funny to think about now because that was an entirely localized process, right? It was built entirely on physical presence.
Right.
The whole security of the transaction just relied on the fact that you were standing in the same room as a state-commissioned official, just looking them directly in the eye.
But that analog ritual is, it is rapidly vanishing into the cloud. If you're listening to this and you've closed on a house or signed a major legal document recently, there's a really good chance you just sat at your kitchen table, stared into your laptop's webcam, and signed your life away digitally.
Yeah, completely remotely.
Right. And the person on the other side of that webcam was probably working from home too. But here's the fascinating reality we are exploring today. The person on the other side of that screen is not just sitting at their kitchen table with a regular laptop.
Or, to put a finer point on it, they absolutely shouldn't be.
Right.
Operating at a professional level in this space, it requires a radically different approach to a home workspace. You cannot just use your everyday setup.
Exactly. Our mission today is exploring the incredibly high-stakes engineering behind building a professional remote online notarization home office. Or, ARN hubs, as they're called.
Because we are talking about high-volume digital operations here, that they're handling highly sensitive real estate closings, estate planning, major corporate legal documents.
This isn't just remote work, as most of us know it, right? It demands a legally compliant, secure, and just perfectly optimized command center.
Yeah, the stakes are fundamentally different. When a real estate transaction becomes entirely digital, well, the vulnerabilities become digital too.
Makes sense.
So the legal compliance shifts from verifying a physical pen and ink signature to providing absolute technological assurance. Every single element of your workspace has to be deliberately engineered to support that assurance.
So to really understand what that workspace looks like, we kind of have to start with the heart of the operation, the computing power. And honestly, the hardware requirements for this kind of work are intense, which I'll admit surprised me at first.
Really?
Yeah, because you just think, oh, it's just a video call and a PDF. Like, how hard could that be?
Right. That's the common misconception. Yeah. But a RON platform, we're talking enterprise-grade software like Proof, Notary Cam, or Pro Notary, it is doing a massive amount of heavy lifting in the background.
So what's actually happening behind the scenes then?
Well, the video call is actually the least demanding part of what those platforms do. While you are talking to a client, the system is simultaneously running AES 256-bit encryption.
Wow.
And just to give you an idea of what that means, AES 256 is the standard used by the military.
Okay, so it's serious.
Oh, very. It scrambles the data of the live session so thoroughly that theoretically, even if a hacker intercepted the stream with a supercomputer, it would take billions of years to crack it.
That is wild.
Yeah. And at the exact same time, the system is recording high-definition video for long-term legal archiving. Plus, it's handling incredibly complex cryptographic tools, specifically X.509 digital certificates.
Okay, the digital certificates. Those essentially act as a modern replacement for that heavy ink stamp we talked about, right?
Exactly. They function like a tamper-evident digital wax seal.
A digital wax seal. I like that.
Right. So an X.509 Federal Bridge digital certificate logically and, well, permanently attaches to the electronic record. If someone tries to alter even a single pixel of that PDF after you apply the certificate...
Like if they try to change something sneaky?
Yeah, say they try to change a loan interest rate from like 3% to 8%. If they do that, the cryptographic seal shatters.
Oh, wow. It just breaks.
Just breaks. Any software opening that document will instantly flag it as invalid and tampered with. So running all of these processes flawlessly in real time, it requires serious computing power.
Which makes me wonder what the baseline actually is. Like if you're a notary listening right now and trying to get into this field, do you really need to spend thousands of dollars on a supercomputer?
Well, there was an interesting thread on the Notary Cafe forums about exactly that. A user who goes by the name Antonio actually decided to run a real-world experiment to see if you could execute this job on a shoestring budget.
Okay, I love this. What did he do?
He tested a basic, off-the-shelf, entry-level laptop connected to a standard, 200 megabits per second residential internet connection.
Let me guess. The laptop just completely melted on his desk.
Huh. Not quite melted, but close. His conclusion was that technically, yes, you can complete a remote signing session, but the experience was incredibly sluggish.
I can imagine.
Yeah, he compared it directly to his actual daily driver, which is a custom-built rig valued at over $5,000.
Wait, $5,000? That is a staggering amount of money for a home office computer. What is actually inside a machine like that to justify the cost for a notary?
So he built it with an Intel Core i7 processor, 32 gigabytes of DDR5 RAM, and a 512 gigabyte NVMe solid-state drive. And he's running all of that with an ultra-low network latency of under 6 milliseconds.
Okay, that's a lot of tech jargon. Break that down for us. Why does a notary need an NVMe drive?
Right, so the mechanism behind that NVMe drive is crucial here. Older hard drives use these physical spinning disks to find data, which obviously takes time.
Right, the ones that click and whir.
Exactly. But an NVMe drive is pure flash memory, and it's plugged directly into the motherboard. So when a notary needs to pull up a, say, 200-page encrypted mortgage packet while the client is sitting there watching...
Oh, yeah, you don't want to keep them waiting.
Exactly. A standard hard drive might make everyone sit in this awkward silence while a loading bar just crawls across the screen. But the NVMe drive pulls it up instantly.
And I'm guessing the 32 gigs of RAM allows them to keep all those really complex encrypted browser tabs open without the computer freezing up on them.
Yeah, it creates a massive buffer. You see, in high-volume RON work, independent notaries are often competing for these on-demand signing sessions.
Oh, like a gig economy thing.
Exactly. When an alert pops up, the first person to click accepts the job. So that high-end system allows the notary to accept it and launch into a secure session instantaneously, and the computer's CPU utilization stays below like 20%.
So it's not even breaking a sweat.
Exactly. The basic laptop might get the job done eventually, but the high-end rig makes the notary a highly efficient, competitive business.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But we need to talk about the rest of the desk, too. We actually have to take a quick break right now, but when we come back, we're going to dive into monitors, ergonomics, and the invisible lifeline that keeps this whole operation from crashing down.
You definitely don't want to miss this.
And we're back on Notary Knowledge. So before the break, we were talking about the engine, the computer itself. But how you interact with that engine seems just as crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
The sources place a really heavy emphasis on workspace ergonomics and screen real estate. And it looks like the consensus standard here is a dual monitor setup, specifically two 27-inch 1440p monitors.
Yes. The physical layout of the desk dictates your entire workflow. Ergonomists actually divide a desk into 3 specific zones.
Right, what are the zones?
First, you have the neutral zone. That's the immediate center where your hands naturally rest, so where your keyboard and mouse live. Then you have the near side zone, which is just a simple forearm sweep away.
Like where you'd keep a physical backup journal or something.
Exactly. And finally, the far side zone, which is essentially for visual-only items, like your screens.
Right. But the issue I've seen with a lot of stock monitors is that the giant, clunky plastic bases they come with completely hijack that neutral zone.
They steal the most valuable real estate on your desk. A bulky monitor stand forces you to either push your keyboard to the very edge of the desk, or you have to twist your shoulders at this unnatural angle just to type.
Which is terrible for your back.
Terrible. Over an 8-hour shift of high-volume notarizations, that leads to severe physical strain. And that is exactly why articulated dual monitor arms, the ones that clamp securely to the back edge of the desk, are essentially mandatory.
Because they get the monitors up and out of the way.
Right. They lift the screens entirely off the surface. You reclaim your neutral zone, and it allows you to precisely align the top bezels just below eye level, which protects your cervical spine.
Okay, but hang on a second. If maximizing screen real estate and avoiding bezels right in the middle of your vision is the ultimate goal, why mess around with two separate monitors at all?
What do you mean?
Well, why not just buy one of those massive 49-inch curved super ultra-wide monitors, the gaming ones, that you get one huge seamless digital canvas?
I get the appeal, I really do. For video editing, timeline management, or gaming, an ultra-wide is spectacular, but for live, secure, remote notarization, it introduces a critical operational flaw.
Wait, really? How so?
It comes down to screen sharing.
Ah, okay. I actually saw a Reddit discussion specifically about finance and Excel-heavy setups that touched on this. If you are on a live RON session, you frequently have to share your screen with the signer, right?
Right, to physically point out where they need to click or to review a specific legal clause.
So if you share an entire window from a 49-inch ultra-wide monitor, the viewer on the other end, who might be logging in from like a tiny 13-inch laptop or even an iPad, is going to see this stretched, horribly distorted, impossibly tiny box.
Exactly. The aspect ratio mismatch makes the document totally unreadable. It becomes a frustrating user experience for the client, and time is money.
That makes total sense.
And beyond just the screen sharing, dual monitors establish a hard physical boundary for privacy.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, you keep the active on platform and the live signer video strictly on the primary centered monitor. Then your email, your daily client rosters, your internal communications, all of that is quarantined on the secondary screen.
I've even seen some notaries rotate that second screen vertically, right, for reading long legal PDFs.
Yes, the vertical orientation is great for that. And having a physical bezel separating your workspaces guarantees you never accidentally drag a window and broadcast a different client's highly sensitive financial data.
Yeah, that would be a disaster.
Yeah.
But, it's an interesting paradox. You spend thousands of dollars engineering this incredibly fast, ergonomically perfect workstation to ensure digital security.
Right.
But if we think about vulnerabilities, the entire setup has a massive Achilles heel. You are running a live, legally binding video session. If your local internet connection drops, that $5,000 custom PC is practically a paperweight.
Oh, it is the single point of failure that most remote workers completely ignore.
It's terrifying.
It really is. Relying solely on a single residential internet service provider is an enormous risk when you are performing legal transactions. We aren't talking about the minor inconvenience of a Netflix movie buffering.
Right.
Network downtime in professional enterprise environments costs an average of $500 a minute in lost revenue and operational delays.
Wow, $500 a minute. So when a high-stakes commercial real estate closing drops midway through because, I don't know, a backhoe down the street accidentally cut a fiber optic cable,
Yeah.
the reputational damage to the notary is just devastating.
Absolutely. The client isn't going to blame the construction crew. They are going to blame the notary for being unprofessional.
So the solution to this is internet failover.
Yes. And we need to be very, very specific about what failover actually means. Because simply buying a second modem from a different cable company and putting it on your desk, that is not internet failover.
So basically, having a second internet line without the right routing equipment is kind of like keeping a spare tire in your trunk.
Okay, I like this analogy.
Right, sure, it's there.
Yeah.
But if you get a flat on the highway, you still have to pull over, get out, jack up the car, and manually change the tire while traffic just whizzes by.
Which takes time.
Exactly. In this context, your client is sitting there on a frozen video screen for 10 minutes while you frantically swap Ethernet cables under your desk.
Sweating the whole time.
Oh, absolutely panicking.
Yeah.
But a true dual-WAN router is like having run-flat tires. You hit a nail, the system adjusts instantly, and your passenger, the client, doesn't even know anything went wrong.
That captures the mechanics perfectly. A dual WAN router is this specialized piece of networking hardware that actively manages multiple connections simultaneously.
So how do you set it up?
You plug your primary high-speed fiber or cable connection into port 1. Then you plug a completely different physical infrastructure into port 2. And a best practice here is using a 5G cellular gateway from a provider like T-Mobile or Verizon.
Because a backhoe cutting a cable in the ground won't take down the cellular towers up in the sky.
Exactly. It provides a completely separate physical path for the data.
But how does the router actually know when to switch over? Does it just guess?
It uses continuous health checks. The dual WAN router is constantly sending these tiny packets of data, called pings, to highly reliable target servers. Often, they use Google's public DNS at 8.8.8.8.
Okay.
It does this every few seconds. If 3 consecutive probes fail to return, the router mathematically declares the primary internet link dead.
Oh, dead.
Right. And it instantly rewrites its internal routing tables and shoves all your outgoing and incoming traffic onto the 5G backup connection. The entire process takes maybe 15 to 30 seconds.
Wow.
The video feed might degrade in quality for just a brief moment, but the secure session does not drop.
But, I did read a warning about a massive configuration trap with these routers.
Oh.
You can buy the expensive hardware, plug everything in, and think you are perfectly safe. But if you don't adjust the internal settings, certain business tools will still break during a failover.
Yeah, the most notorious example involves voice over IP or VoIP phone systems.
Which a lot of professional notaries use.
Oh, all of them. SIP-based desk phones communicate with a central server using a registration interval. They essentially send this digital handshake saying, hey, I am at this specific IP address, send my calls here.
Okay, makes sense.
But by default, that interval is often set to 3,600 seconds, which is a full hour.
Wait, so when the router fails over to the 5G backup, your home office gets a brand new IP address from the cellular network, right?
Yes.
So the internet is working perfectly on your computer, but the VoIP phone system hasn't reached its 1-hour check-in time yet.
Exactly. The phone is still waiting to tell the server about the new IP address. So for up to an hour, anyone calling your business line will just get a dead signal and you won't even realize it's happening.
That's a nightmare for a business owner. How do you fix it?
You have to log into the phone's firmware and manually reduce that registration interval to something aggressive, like 300 seconds.
Oh, okay. So it checks in every 5 minutes instead.
Right. It illustrates how building a RON hub isn't just about plugging in consumer gadgets. It really requires genuine enterprise IT network management.
Absolutely. Okay, we have to take one more quick break, but coming up, we are going into the physical realm. Because your internet can be perfect, but what happens if your walls betray you? Don't go away.
We'll be right back.
And welcome back to Notary Knowledge. Okay, so before the break, we locked down the digital infrastructure. The data is encrypted, the hardware is lightning fast, the connection is basically unbreakable.
Everything is rock solid.
Right. But there is another vulnerability that has absolutely nothing to do with hackers or severed cables. What happens if the breach is just your roommate walking past your closed door, or your neighbor firing up a leaf blower right outside your window while you are asking a client for the last 4 digits of their social security number?
Oh, that transitions us into the physical realm of acoustic isolation. And in the context of remote notarization, soundproofing isn't just a luxury so you can concentrate. It is a strict legal compliance requirement.
Because you have to record it, right?
Yes. Because the notary is mandated to record and archive the audio and video of the session, any background noise or voice bleed from adjacent spaces represents a severe breach of confidentiality.
Wow, so you can actually get in trouble.
Absolutely. State privacy regulations mandate that a signer's personally identifiable information cannot be overheard by unauthorized individuals. Period.
And the American Institute of Architects actually has specific metrics for this, don't they? They recommend an STC rating of 45 for basic speech privacy and an STC of 50 for confidential speech. Well, wait, so what does STC even actually measure in this context?
Good question. STC stands for Sound Transmission Class. It is a numerical rating of how effectively a physical barrier blocks airborne sound from passing through it.
Okay, so give us a baseline.
Well, a standard interior wall in a typical residential house, which is just drywall screwed directly onto wooden studs with no insulation, that scores around an STC 33.
Which is not great.
Not at all. That is barely enough to muffle a raised voice. To hit that legally compliant 48 to 52 range, you have to fundamentally engineer the walls of the room.
Which brings up a massive misconception I see all the time online. People think they can just buy cheap, those egg carton-shaped acoustic foam panels from Amazon, stick them to their bedroom wall, and just call it soundproof.
Oh, I see that everywhere.
Right. But the documentation from Nuvera Space breaks down why that is completely ineffective. That foam does absolutely nothing to stop your neighbor's lawnmower from ruining your session or your family from hearing your client's data.
People make that mistake because they confuse two fundamentally different physical phenomena, STC and NRC.
Right.
As we established, STC is about blocking sound from entering or leaving a room. NRC, or noise reduction coefficient, is entirely different. It measures how well a material absorbs sound waves that are already bouncing around inside the room.
So it's about controlling the echo so you don't sound like you were broadcasting from a tiled bathroom.
Exactly.
So, trying to treat an STC problem-blocking sound with lightweight acoustic foam is, well, it's like trying to stop a flood with a paper towel.
That's a great way to put it.
The foam just absorbs a little surface echo. It has no structural mass to stop the wave of sound energy from passing right through the wall.
Which is why acoustical engineers follow a strict, non-negotiable sequence. Block first, absorb second.
Block first, absorb second.
Right. To improve the STC rating and actually block sound, you need to introduce structural mass and physical decoupling, because sound is just vibrational energy, right? It passes through the air, hits your drywall, travels through the wooden studs, and vibrates the drywall on the other side.
So how do you stop that vibration? The sources mention techniques like adding a second layer of dense drywall, but you separate the two layers with a specialized viscoelastic damping compound, something called green glue.
Yes, green glue, and the mechanism behind it is fascinating. It remains permanently flexible. When sound waves hit the wall and cause the drywall to flex, the green glue shears back and forth between the layers.
Wait, it moves?
Yeah, slightly. And the friction of that movement literally converts the vibrational sound energy into microscopic amounts of heat.
That is incredible.
Right, you are chemically transforming sound into heat just to keep the room quiet.
That is wild. But you also have to address the doors and windows too, because sound behaves exactly like water. You can have a bank vault wall, but if your standard hollow core bedroom door has a 1/4-inch gap at the bottom, the sound will just pour right out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Upgrading to a solid core door is essential, but it must be paired with adjustable perimeter compression seals. And you need an automatic drop sweep that lowers a gasket against the floor when the door closes.
That seals the gap at the bottom.
Exactly. Only once the room is hermetically sealed and the STC is raised to a compliant level do you move to the second step. Then, you apply the high NRC acoustic panels to the interior walls to absorb the internal echoes and ensure the notary's voice sounds rich, clear, and professional.
Okay, so the room is an acoustic vault. It's
Yeah.
dead quiet, completely secure, connected to a fail-safe network. We arrive at the final requirement. The notary has to be heard, obviously,
Yep.
but they also must be seen clearly.
Yes.
And again, this isn't about curating a nice aesthetic for social media. It's driven by the law.
Several states, like Michigan and Missouri, for example, have explicit statutory mandates regarding credential analysis and real-time visual comparison during a RON session.
Meaning the notary has to actually compare the ID to the face on screen.
Right. The remote notary is legally required to look at the government-issued ID the signer holds up to their webcam, look at the signer's face on the live video feed, and definitively verify they are the same person.
They also have to assess the signer's comprehension and volition, right?
Yeah, exactly. Does this person seem lucid? Are they looking off camera nervously, suggesting maybe someone is in the room coercing them into signing?
And you simply cannot make those legal judgments if the video feed is grainy, blown out, or just cast in heavy, obscuring shadows.
You can't. The baseline technical standard is a webcam capable of a minimum resolution of 780p, though 1080p or uncompressed 4K is heavily preferred by enterprise platforms.
But a camera is only as good as the light it gets.
Exactly. The most expensive 4K camera in the world will produce a terrible, noisy image if the lighting is poor. Proper illumination is what allows the camera sensor to capture detail without digital artifacts. The industry standard here is a professional 3-point lighting setup.
Breaking that down, it consists of a key light, a fill light, and a rim light.
Right. The key light acts as your primary source of illumination. It provides about 75% of the light on your face. It's typically positioned slightly above eye level at a 45-degree angle.
But because that angle creates shadows on the opposite side of your face, you introduce a fill light.
Yes. The fill light sits on the opposite side and is heavily diffused to soften those shadows, ensuring even visibility.
And the third one.
Finally, the rim light, also known as a backlight, It is placed behind you, out of frame, pointing down at your shoulders and hair. This separates you from the background and creates a three-dimensional depth on the flat video feed.
I see so many remote workers just buying a cheap circular ring light and placing it directly in front of their monitor. Why does that fall short of the standard for a notary?
Ring lights provide very flat frontal illumination that completely lacks depth. But the primary issue for a notary involves glare.
Ah, glasses.
Yep. If a notary wears glasses, a ring light placed directly in front of them creates a bright circular reflection that sits perfectly over their pupils.
So you end up looking like a sci-fi cyborg with glowing white rings in your eyes.
Exactly. And if the state law requires you to assess someone's visual cues, looking inhuman with obscured eyes instantly undermines the legal validity of the session.
So what's the fix?
The structural fix is raising your key and fill lights to a steeper vertical angle. By elevating the lights, the reflection on the glasses bounces downward away from the camera lens and it keeps your eyes clearly visible.
You also have to consider the highly specific technical specifications of the LED lights themselves, right?
Yeah.
Particularly a metric called the Color Rendering Index, or CRI.
Yes. For this work, a CRI of 95 or higher is absolutely required.
Wait, what is the mechanism behind CRI? What does it actually change about the video?
It measures how accurately a light source reveals the true colors of an object compared to natural sunlight. If you use cheap LED panels with a low CRI, skin tones can look sickly or green.
That's not good.
But more importantly, the security features and microprinting on a driver's license might look distorted or discolored on camera, which completely ruins your ability to perform accurate credential analysis.
Wow. And you also need to lock the color temperature of your lights between 5,000 Kelvin and 5,500 Kelvin, right?
Exactly.
Because that specific temperature perfectly matches the natural daylight coming through a window.
Right. If you have a warm, orange-tinted desk lamp mixing with cool blue daylight from a window, your webcam's automatic white balance will just constantly panic and shift.
So you look orange one minute and blue the next as clouds pass by outside.
Exactly. You have to standardize the color temperature across the entire room. Even the paint on your walls matters.
Really?
Paint? Oh, yeah. Bright white light reflecting off a red wall will bounce red hues onto your skin. Neutral gray or off-white walls are practically required to keep the video feed pristine and legally defensible.
When you pull all of these separate elements together, it is just staggering. Building a professional RON hub isn't just about taking a trip to an electronics store and buying a nice webcam.
Not at all.
It is a deliberate, highly sequenced engineering process. You are weaving together raw processing power, redundant network architecture, physical acoustic physics, and broadcast quality lighting. You are literally building a command center designed for absolute trust.
It represents a profound shift in how society establishes trust. We have replaced the physical authority of a marble bank branch with a highly orchestrated, legally compliant digital environment.
It's amazing. Okay, before we wrap up today, we want to jump in one of our favorite segments. Good question. What would you do?
Oh, I love this segment.
Yeah, we've got some rapid-fire scenarios from our listeners. Let's see how you'd handle them. First up, Julian from North Carolina. He asks, I sent out 50 cold emails to title companies and got 0 replies. What would you do?
Oh, Julian. Honestly, I'd stop relying entirely on cold emails. Pick up the phone, or better yet, show up at their office with a box of donuts and a polished introduction. Relationship business requires personal touch.
Totally agree. Okay, next is Camila from Minnesota. I've been running Facebook ads for my mobile notary business, but it's costing a fortune with no ROI. What would you do?
I'd pause the ads immediately. General social media ads rarely work for high-intent, need-it-now services. I would reallocate that budget to local SEO and a hyper-targeted Google business profile. When people need a notary, they search Google, not their Facebook feed.
That is solid advice. Okay, Isaac from Missouri says, a signing agency offered me a huge volume of work, but they want me to drop my fee to rock bottom. What would you do?
Don't devalue yourself. I'd counter with a tiered pricing model. Maybe offer a slight discount for guaranteed bulk volume, but never drop below your baseline profitability just to stay busy. Busy doesn't always equal profitable.
So true. Penelope from Connecticut asks, I've been asked to officiate a high-end wedding as a notary, but I've never done one. What would you do?
Oh, Penelope, script everything. I would practice the ceremony out loud at least 10 times, dress flawlessly, and arrive an hour early. Weddings are high stress, so your primary job is to be the calmest person in the room.
Great advice. Last one, Adrian from Florida. It's the slow season, and the phone just isn't ringing. What would you do?
Use the downtime to build the fortress desk we just talked about. But seriously, use slow seasons for continuing education, updating your business plan, and networking with local real estate agents who will remember you when the market heats back up.
Fantastic answers. And listen, if you want your question featured on the show, email your questions to Derrick at derrickspruill.com. We will try to answer as soon as possible at the end of our shows.
I love to hear from you.
And as we close out today, that idea of trust brings up a really provocative thought to leave you with. If you look at the news, artificial intelligence and real-time video deepfakes are becoming incredibly sophisticated.
Oh, it's scary.
It really is. It is getting harder every day to tell what is real and what is synthetic on a screen. Could the sheer physical quality of a meticulously engineered Aron setup, the uncompressed 4K video, the flawless 5500 Kelvin lighting, the perfect acoustic clarity without any digital artifacts or lag, could that soon become our ultimate necessary weapon against identity fraud?
That's a great point.
As synthetic media gets better, will the standard for a legal home office eventually have to look exactly like a Hollywood broadcast studio, just to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that the person on screen is a living, breathing human being?
It seems to be the exact trajectory we are on. The higher the fidelity of the visual and acoustic environment, well, the harder it becomes for synthetic algorithms to hide their flaws and rendering errors. In a way, your physical setup and connection quality become your ultimate cryptographic signature.
It is definitely something to mull over the next time you log into a remote meeting and check your background. The future of trust is a lot more complicated than a simple rubber stamp. We want to thank our executive producer, Derrick Spruill, our lead writer, Marylyn Trotter, graphics by Eddie Montes Travis, music by Thomas Bynum.
And this show is produced by Magnificent Works Business Solutions.
Don't just be listeners of the knowledge, be doers of the knowledge. This is Notary Knowledge. Until next time.
Are you looking for an edge, flexible income, and immediate professional respect? Discover the hidden opportunity of becoming a public official with the book, Becoming a Notary by Derrick Spruill. This beginner's guide provides the universal roadmap to launch your new career. You will learn the core mission of deterring fraud, the essential tools of the trade, and exactly how to protect yourself while building a respected business. Get your copy of Becoming a Notary on Amazon, and step into a rewarding profession.